Chapter 19. Why didn't you tell the cops you saw Gail there? Barry asked angrily after the police had left my house. She didn't do it, I insisted. The police questioned me at school first, then visited my house later that night. My mother had called Barry's mother and told her what had happened. Barry showed up while the police were still there, and they also questioned him. I was afraid the police would think I killed Dwayne because I had his blood on my clothes, but they didn't seem to suspect me. When the police left, Barry and I didn't say anything to each other for a few minutes. I couldn't even look at him. No more Three Stooges, no more Three Musketeers, no more Hawaiian shirts, no more stupid jokes, no more Dwayne. So how do you know Gail didn't do it? Barry argued. She was the last one there, wasn't she? I sat on a couch in the living room, patting Teddy on the head. Barry paced the rug. Gail isn't a murderer, I said. You know she wouldn't kill anyone. Don't you ever watch the news, man? Barry cried. That's what the friends and family of killers always say. Oh, she seemed like such a nice girl. Wrong. You didn't see Dwayne's body, I said quietly, calmly. You didn't see what happened to him. Gail couldn't have done it. Do you understand me? Barry stared at his feet. Man, I'm sorry, he stammered. I didn't think about what it was like for you, finding him like that. He lifted his eyes. So, who killed Dwayne if not Gail? He asked. I shrugged. I couldn't tell him about the cat I'd heard just after I'd found Dwayne's body, about everything that had happened to me since the cat in the gym died. Barry knew that something wasn't quite right, but if I told him I thought a cat might have killed Dwayne, he would have called me crazy. Oh, Marty, that's horrible, Kit groaned. I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do? There isn't anything anybody can do, I answered, my voice cracking. Let me know if you need me, Kit said. Call when you're ready, even if it's only to talk, okay? Okay, thanks. Thanks, Kit. I had told Kit the bad news. Now I had one more chore to do. I had to go see Gail. I rang her doorbell. Lights were on inside, but nobody appeared at the door. I stepped off the porch and started to walk away. Then I heard a lock tumble open and the front door creak. Who's there? A hoarse voice asked. Marty, I answered, stepping into the porch light. Oh, Marty, Gail sobbed. She threw open the door. There were tears on her face. What little makeup she wore had left a black trail on her cheeks. Gail, I began, but Gail didn't listen. She threw her arms around me and hugged me tight. Marty, I'm so sorry about the horrible things I've done to you, she wailed. He's dead, she murmured. I can't believe he's dead. I always liked Dwayne. In freshman year, he was the only guy who noticed I even existed. He made me laugh so much. I feel as if I'll never laugh again. I wrapped my arms around Gail. She'd been my worst enemy earlier in the day, but now I held her tight. It's okay, I whispered. It's okay. She pulled back again and wiped her eyes. What a jerk I am, she mumbled. Your best friend is dead, and I'm turning to you for a shoulder to cry on. I'm sorry, Marty. We can all cry together, another voice said. Ricky stepped into the hall, wiping the tears from her face. I nodded to Ricky. You okay? I guess. Gail, there's something I want to ask you, I told her. Anything, she promised. I saw you running from the gym, I told her, just before I found Dwayne's body. What were you doing there? Chapter 20. Yes, I was there, and now I feel as if Dwayne's death is partly my fault, Gail choked out. What do you mean? I demanded. I hung around school after the game. The gymnastics coach said I could use the weight room. Then I realized how late it was. I had a babysitting job to get to, so I changed clothes in the locker room and ran out through the gym. If I hadn't been in such a rush, I might have seen a psycho who killed Dwayne, she explained. She let out a sob. But I was in such a hurry. Oh, Marty, I'll do anything to help. Thanks, Gail, I replied. I'm not sure there's anything anyone can do, but at least you've answered my question. I'll never doubt you again. I promise. Dwayne was buried on Monday morning. Those of us who attended the funeral showed up late for school. The principal excused us all. I could barely pay attention in class that afternoon. Later, as I trudged to basketball practice, I kept picturing Dwayne in his coffin. I pushed open the door to the locker room. The rest of the team was already there. Coach Griffin's eyes were red, as if he'd been crying. He handed a black armband to each of us. You don't have to wear these, he explained, but I'm going to wear one at every practice and at every tournament game, in memory of Dwayne. All of the guys slipped their armbands on, but I only stared at the slender black elastic cloth in my hands. Marty? Coach asked. I don't know if I can play without him, Coach, I said in a whisper. Coach Griffin didn't say anything for a minute. I expected him to urge me on, to tell me my feelings of loss would pass. After all, Shadyside had never won the state tournament before, and Coach Griffin probably wanted that trophy more than anything. "If you don't feel up to play, Marty, we'll all understand," he said finally. "I won't," Barry muttered. "Excuse me?" I asked. Barry sat on a bench across the room, his back against a row of gray metal lockers. "I said that I won't understand," he repeated, glaring at me. Barry and I hadn't talked much after the night of Dwayne's death. I guess we were both so broken up that seeing each other would have been too painful. "How could you even think about not playing?" Barry demanded. "Dwayne was my friend too, Marty. We were the Three Musketeers, remember? Not two." "I know," I admitted. "I don't care if we win or lose," Barry declared. "But Dwayne would have wanted us to play." I stared at my sneakers for a few seconds. Then I raised my eyes to meet Barry's. "Playing isn't enough," I told him as I slipped on the armband. "We're going to win the tournament for Dwayne." "For Dwayne," the team echoed. We never practiced so hard. During practice, Ricky sat high on the bleachers with Gail and a few other girls. Barry and I waved to them, and they waved back. There were more kids than usual at practice. I chalked it up to excitement about the state tournament. "You want to study together tonight?" Barry asked me in the locker room after practice. "I have a 6 to 9 shift at the animal shelter. Maybe I can come by after that," I suggested. "Cool," he nodded. "Oh, hey, can you drop me off on the way home?" "No problem," I agreed, "but hurry up, okay?" I knew I would have to rush home and eat dinner quickly if I wanted to be on time for work. A few more shifts and my sentence would be completed. I couldn't wait. I showered quickly and pulled on my clothes. "Barry, hurry up, will you?" I called back into the showers. "I'll be right out," he promised. "You leaving, Marty?" Kevin Hackett asked as he slung his backpack over his shoulder. "Yeah," I answered. Then I called to Barry. "I'll meet you at the back door." "Okay." Kevin and I pushed through the rear exit door. We talked for a couple of minutes, mainly about classes. We were in the same history class, but he didn't seem any better prepared than I was. A few teachers' cars were still parked in the faculty lot. A lot of them worked late, I noticed. The side gym door hung open, the same door Gail ran out of the night of Dwayne's murder. As I thought about her, Gail stepped through that door again. She glanced anxiously at her watch and tapped her foot. She didn't see me, and I didn't go over to her. "What's holding Barry up?" I complained. "There's my dad," Kevin announced. "Got to go." As Kevin and his dad drove out, they passed a police car pulling in. It slid into a parking space and the engine cut off. The officer behind the wheel didn't get out. Instead, he sat and watched the parking lot. The police were watching the school after practice and at night. Obviously, they thought the murderer might return. I chewed my lip nervously and glanced at my watch. "Come on, Barry," I muttered. I pulled open the rear door and tromped back into the locker room. "Let's go," I called. "You're making me late." I didn't see Barry. "Barry, come on," I shouted. I stuck my head into the showers. No sign of him. He wasn't in the locker room. "Oh, man," I whispered, shaking my head. "Barry?" No answer. I shoved open the door to the gym. "Barry?" I called. Someone had turned out the lights. My voice echoed through the darkness. Squinting hard, my eyes fell on a crumpled, still form at half court. Oh no, not again, my mind screamed. No! Chapter 21. My heart pounding, I stared at the unmoving form on the wooden floor. I blinked once, twice. My eyes adjusted to the shadowy light. With a trembling hand, I fumbled for the light switch and flipped it on. Barry's green backpack lay on the floor in the center of the gym. Not Barry. Not Barry. Barry's backpack. I rushed across the gym to pick up the backpack. As I bent down, I heard voices from outside the gym doors. I hurried over to the double doors, which were open slightly. "Barry?" I called as I pushed open the door. In the hall, Barry stood with his arms wrapped around Ricky. They were kissing, but they pulled apart quickly when they saw me. "Oh, hey, Marty," Barry fumbled. Ricky smiled. "Hi, Marty." "Hey, guys," I answered. So, Barry and Ricky were together. It was cool with me. Barry needed a girlfriend, and I'd made it clear that I wasn't interested in Ricky. I grinned at Ricky. Now I know why Gail is hanging around outside staring at her watch. "Whoops," Ricky giggled. "I hope she isn't too steamed. I got hung up." She smiled at Barry. "Listen, Barry, I really have to go. I'm definitely going to be late for work," I explained. "Sorry I can't wait." "That's okay," he answered. "No problem. Maybe Gail will drop me off." I slid Barry's backpack over to him. "See you later?" Barry asked. "I'll do my best," I promised. "You're late, Marty," my boss scolded me. Sorry, Caroline. I don't really have a good excuse, I admitted. I'll forgive you this time. How are you doing? She asked, her expression softening. Her eyes studied me. I'm dealing with things, I told her. Sometimes I just can't believe Dwayne is dead, you know? I can't imagine what it will be like to never see him again. Caroline laid a hand on my shoulder. It's tough. Glad you're handling it. She sighed. I wish I could stay and talk, Marty, but I have to get going. First, though, you should meet our new inmate, Brutus. Brutus? She led me into the kennel area. I dug through the basement storage for this cage today, Caroline explained. I stared at Brutus. Much larger than any of the others, his cage stood at the end of the row. Wow, I cried, moving closer to the huge animal. I didn't know you sheltered werewolves here. Caroline didn't laugh at my joke. Keep your distance, Marty, she warned. Brutus is dangerous. The vet is coming here in the morning to put him to sleep. I stared at the huge mongrel dog. It must have weighed 200 pounds. It didn't bark or growl at me, but I hung back. When I was a kid, my dad explained to me that quiet dogs are sometimes more dangerous because you didn't know what to expect. After Caroline left, I fed all the dogs and cats. Brutus shifted uneasily when I slipped his food dish in the cage. He lowered his head and stared at me with yellow eyes. A few cats paced their cages nervously, but the big kennel room was quiet. I pulled a broom from the supply closet and started to sweep. I was in the middle of the room, in the aisle between the cats and dogs, when I heard a sound. A soft, scraping sound. A footstep. I leaned to my broom and listened. My mouth suddenly felt dry. My legs were trembling. Another footstep. I gripped the broom handle so hard, my hands ached. Who's there? I choked out. No answer. Hey, who's there? I shouted. I heard another footstep from the far wall. And then a clank, the clank of metal. A dog barked, then another. It started them all barking. I raised the broom as if to use it as a weapon. I took a step toward the sounds. The cats began to yowl. Over the noise, I heard another metallic clang, a cage door slamming against a cage. The cats hissed and yowled. Dogs barked. Hey! I shouted. A cat stepped into the aisle. Huh? I let out a startled gasp. Another cat stepped up beside it. I heard another cage door clang open. Two more cats leapt into the aisle. They arched their backs. Their teeth shone in the light as they hissed at me. I took a step back. What's going on? I cried. Why was someone opening the cage doors? Who was in here? Please, I started to say. Another cage door clanged open. More cats jammed the aisle. Dogs barked and howled. A yellow cat dove for me. It raised a front paw and clawed the air. No! I shrank back. I heard another loud clang. Closer, but I couldn't see anyone. The cats edged closer, clawing the air, hissing, their tails straight up, backs arched. Who is here? Who is doing this? I shrieked. The cats moved faster now. Their eyes glowed, threatening eyes, cold eyes. I backed up, one step, then another. The hissing and yowling sounds were all deafening, but I couldn't pay attention. The cats were forming a circle, surrounding me. They arched up on their hind legs. A dozen hissing cats. They bared their teeth, raised their claws, and leapt to the attack. Chapter 22. No! A hoarse wail escaped my throat. I raised the broom between my hands. Two shrieking cats jumped from my chest. I caught them with the broom handle and sent them flying over the cages. Marty, what are you doing? A voice rang out over the barking and shrieking of the animals. I staggered back until I hit the wall. The cats slunk back. They were silent now, staring up at me with their glowing eyes. The dogs stopped barking. Feeling dazed, I struggled to catch my breath. Sweat ran down my forehead. My whole body trembled. Caroline stepped into the aisle, her eyes wild with shock. Marty, why? The broom fell from my hands. Caroline picked up a black cat and gently placed it in a cage. The cats were all purring softly now. Somebody was here, I gasped, swallowing hard. Somebody let them out. Caroline turned and searched the room. Who was here? She turned back to me, her face filled with concern. Marty, the door is locked. No one could get in. No, really, I insisted, my heart still pounding. Caroline rounded up more cats and returned them to their cages. I didn't move from the wall. My legs were still trembling too hard to walk. They attacked me, I told her. Someone opened the cages and... Marty, let's go to the office, Caroline said sternly. She motioned with her hand. Please, go in and sit down. I obediently left the kennel and made my way to the office. On the way, I took a drink of water from the fountain. If only I could stop shaking. Caroline joined me in the office a few minutes later. She was chewing her bottom lip and eyeing me thoughtfully as she took a seat behind her desk. Caroline, I began, but she raised a hand to silence me. Marty, I know you've been through a shock, she said softly, but you have to realize you opened those cages. You let those cats out. No, I insisted. Listen to me. She shook her head. There is no one else in here, Marty. You were alone with the animals. Alone. I came back because I forgot my purse, and there you were. The cages were open. The cats all over the floor. But they attacked me, I cried. She shook her head again. She raised a finger to her lips. I saw you attacking them, she said. I saw you swing the broom. The cats were just watching you. No, I cried. You've got to believe me. I believe that you're stressed and horribly upset and maybe in shock, Caroline replied. I'm going to drive you home, Marty, and I want you to talk to your parents, maybe see a doctor, and take some time to get yourself together. She stood up and came around to my chair. I'm worried about you. I really am. I was worried about me, too. Could Caroline be right? Was I really in shock? Did I let those cats out of their cages? No. No way, I told myself. But could I be sure? I can drive myself home, I told her. I stood up shakily. I'm really sorry, I murmured. I still have 5 hours to serve. I want you to come back when you feel you are ready, she said. You sure you don't want me to drive you? No, thanks. My car is right outside. She kept her hand on my shoulder as I led the way to the door. Then she stood in the doorway, watching me as I backed the car up and pulled away. Wow, I said aloud, turning toward Fear Street. Wow, wow. I still felt shaky. I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to tell Mom and Dad what had happened, but I needed to talk to someone, so I drove to Barry's. The house was completely dark as I pulled up the driveway. That's weird, I thought. He knew I planned to come over after work. He must be in the back, I decided. I climbed out of the car and tripped over his little brother's tricycle. Ow! I toppled to the asphalt, skinned my hand. Bad night, I muttered. I pulled myself up, brushed myself off, and made my way to the front door. Hey! To my surprise, the door was open a few inches. Someone is getting careless, I thought. I pushed the door open a little wider and peered into the living room. Completely dark. Anybody home? I called in. Hey, Barry, you home? No reply. I took a step into the room. Barry? You here? It's me. Silence. Hey, you left your door open, I shouted. Still no reply. So I decided to try the back of the house. I took a few steps toward the hall and tripped over something soft and heavy on the living room floor. Chapter 23. Oh no! A cry escaped my throat. Barry? I dropped to my knees. Barry? Barry? With a hoarse cry, I reached up and clicked on a table lamp and stared at what I had tripped over, a rolled-up carpet. I uttered a long sigh. Marty, you're losing it, I told myself. You're totally losing it. Hey, is somebody there? I heard Barry call from the back of the house. I jumped up. I heard whispering, then a girl's giggle. It's me, I called. Stepping over the carpet, I hurried into the den and found Barry and Ricky sitting close, very close, together on the leather couch. Barry had dark red lipstick smears on his cheek. Ricky's hair was wild around her face. Barry's arm was wrapped around her shoulders. Hey, hi, Barry greeted me with a grin. What's up, Marty? We were, Ricky slid away from him. She pushed back her hair with both hands. The door was open, I said, pointing awkwardly. I didn't mean to. I thought you were working at the shelter tonight, Ricky said, straightening her sweater. Barry said you were coming over later. I had to leave early, I stammered. You see, a really weird thing happened, and Caroline thought I should go home and... Who's Caroline? Ricky asked. She's my boss there, I explained. You see, somebody let the cats out of the cages and... Excuse me, Barry interrupted. The cats all got out, I repeated urgently, and they attacked me. They backed me against a wall, and if Caroline hadn't forgotten her purse... My voice trailed off. I saw the way they were staring at me. They didn't believe me, and why should they? I wasn't making any sense. The whole story didn't make any sense. They didn't believe me, and they didn't want to hear a wild story about cages that opened by themselves and cats that attacked humans. They wanted to be alone so they could make out. I could see all that on their faces. Barry uttered a sigh. Maybe I could call you later, he suggested. He kept giving me eye signals. Yeah, okay, I could take a hint. Are you okay, Marty? Ricky asked. You look kind of messed up. No, I'll be okay, I murmured. Later, guys. I turned and hurried out of the den. I ran across the dark living room, nearly tripping over the rolled-up carpet again. Whoa! I let out a cry, hopped over it, burst out of the house at a run, and bumped into a large, gray-haired man coming up the walk. We both let out cries of surprise. Who are you? The man demanded. He narrowed his eyes at me, studied me. I'm Barry's friend, I replied breathlessly. He nodded, keeping his eyes on me. I'm a neighbor, he said, motioning to the house across the driveway. I saw the front door open over there. I was just coming over to make sure everything is okay. Yeah, it's fine, I told him. I think Barry just forgot to close it all the way. The neighbor studied me some more. Then he grunted and turned to go back to his house. Nice night, he murmured as he walked away. Not really, I replied softly. Not a nice night at all, I decided. In fact, one of the most frightening nights of my life. I had no idea that the frights had just begun. Chapter 24. The next morning, my mother knocked on my bedroom door at a little after 7 o'clock. Heavy rain pounded my windows and gray clouds blotted out the sun. I wanted to pull the pillow over my head and keep sleeping. I'd hit the snooze button twice already, though. Once more, and I would definitely be late for school. Marty, are you awake? Mom called from the hallway. Yeah, I groaned. I'm up. I'll be down in a few. Can I come in? She asked. Sure, I answered. When she opened the door, I could see that she'd been crying. Her eyes were red and puffy. She ran a hand through her hair and said, Put something on and hurry downstairs, Marty. What is it, Mom? I asked. What's happened? Marty? Mom whispered, wiping a tear from her cheek. There are police officers downstairs who need to speak with you. My heart sank. Police officers? I pulled on a pair of jeans and a sweatshirt. Then I followed my mother down the stairs. Why was my mother crying? The question haunted me as I stepped into the living room. 2 uniformed police officers stood close together, whispering. Officer Martinez? Officer Lambert? This is my son Marty, Mom told them. Hi, I mumbled. Marty, please have a seat, Officer Martinez suggested. It bothered me that he offered me a seat in my own house. I sat down and waited. The police didn't say anything for a few seconds. Is this about last night? I asked, sick of waiting. What about last night? Officer Lambert inquired and narrowed his eyes. At the animal shelter, I explained. Someone opened the cages and... The cops glanced at each other, then at my mother. Finally, they turned their attention back to me. No, it's not about the shelter, Officer Lambert said. Marty, did you go anywhere after you left the animal shelter last night? Martinez asked. Sure, I shrugged. I went to my friend Barry's house. We were supposed to study, but his girlfriend was there, so I left. His girlfriend? Lambert asked. That would be Ricky Crawford? Look, did something happen at the shelter after I left? Is Caroline okay? She is fine, Marty, Officer Martinez assured me. Then my heart nearly stopped. Oh no, I whispered. Please don't tell me something's happened to Barry. The cops lowered their eyes. Lambert bit his lip before speaking. I'm sorry, Marty, he said softly. Someone murdered your friend Barry last night. He was clawed to pieces.